Hello guys, I am Vitold and today crazy things happened. My legs are shaking as I tried something that I don't usually try. Well, I had to lift a whole motorcycle even twice. And I'll show you, but first, what is going on here? So I've been asked by a friend to come and try an electric motorcycle. That's how it was presented to me. So I googled it and my brain noticed only two things, specifically two numbers, 250 Newton meters of torque and 56 kilograms of weight. That got me thinking. Imagine how quickly I got there, very quick. I entered and I asked him just one question. Where are the bikes for adults? Yeah, that's what I did. At the time, I had no idea how stupid of a joke that was. Anyway, what is this 250 Newton meter monster? It's called SURRON Light Bee and it's available in a few variants. In one, it can be registered and get a license plate, so it's allowed to ride on public streets. It's got lights, it's got mirrors and so on. It's called Light Bee L1e. There is one that's more off-road oriented and it's not supposed to ride on public roads and only has a bicycle style light, which is called a Light Bee X. And there is also a bit lighter version called S. The ones that will be the most interesting to you are likely Light Bee L1e, so the public road one, and the Light Bee X, so the off-road one. Yes, they are light at around 56 kilograms. This weight stays as it is, as you don't add any liquid fuel, no oil, nothing. They've got electric engines and climbed 250 Newton meters of torque while the S has 220 Newton meters. That's still mind-blowing, but in fact, well, these numbers are mentioned somewhere there, but that's not what the rear wheel gets. Not if you translate those numbers at the wheel. Then it's something closer to a 125cc engine, and this better reflects what kind of performance you may expect. But before I tell you something about that, I need to tell you one thing that I discovered trying these bikes in different conditions and in different variants as well. First of all, now I understand that it's best to approach them maybe not as motorcycles. That's because once you get down from your BMW R1250 GS with 136 horsepower or a Multistrada with 170 horsepower, you will feel that performance doesn't really compare on the streets. And yes, that is correct, both parts. First, that it's not comparable, since I mentioned it's closer to a 125cc bike, and the second part, on the streets. Once I was told to switch the Sur-Rons, the models, I got on the one without the proper lights and a registration plate. I had to find another way of moving around the public streets. And man, if like me, you've been riding motorcycles your whole life, you've sat on a bicycle more than once as well, then let me tell you that you still have likely no idea what freedom means. Look at it as a super cool freaking bicycle that doesn't make you tired and that reaches up to 75 kilometers per hour in a few seconds, lifting its front wheel when accelerating hard in the beginning. It's 56 kilograms including the battery, up to 6 kilowatts of power when it's not restricted, and around realistically 35 to 40 Newton meters as we know them at the wheel. And one more thing is that there is no clutch and no gears for you to play with. But on the other hand, nothing to bother you, so you just roll the throttle and you're gone. Now all this is me leading to the main topic. Imagine all this not on a public street, but on a bicycle path. For a moment on a sidewalk maybe, some side streets, some grass, off-road, and if you go for a version with lights, also on the street. Now where you may ride and how quickly, how fast you may ride and with how much actual power depends on where you live and which day it is, as rules change every day. But since these things are more of bicycles than motorcycles and they look totally like bicycles, then I feel it's reasonable to sometimes maybe try to use some bicycle paths in some parts where it's legal, in some countries, in some districts where it's legal, if it is, which, well, that depends on you. Now, all the cyclists don't rule the city anymore. But if you want to go faster, you can join the regular road and reach 75 kilometers per hour, which is anyway above pretty much any speed limit in any city. You may ride them literally anywhere. You don't stress people, it's not loud. They see it as a bicycle and everybody knows that cyclists ride everywhere. They just cannot accelerate, but you can. This is the freedom that I'm talking about. And once I changed my perception and riding conditions from streets where, 75 kilometers per hour is not exactly something mind-blowing, but going to places that you normally go around 5 kilometers per hour. I was blown away, I'm telling you, and you've got to try it. Of course, nobody paid me for it. I got to try the bike. I was really curious in the beginning, then I was a little bit confused. Then once I got off the streets, I was having a lot of fun. In fact, this, I think, when the weather is fine, could be your only way of transportation if you really want. It's quicker than a scooter or a moped, depending on how you call these toilets on wheels with 50cc engines. It is way, way cooler. I think it's actually kind of macho and like fun stuff. It can ride anywhere you want it, and it's totally silent. If you want to ride in the forest and not scare animals, or not to be shot by angry people trying to cool down in there in the forest, well, this is the way. It's fine on gravel roads, something not very serious, as these things aren't that tall. They don't have that much power to actually go and do the super crazy extreme off-roading. But if you want to stand up, for me at 183 centimeters tall or 6 feet tall, the handlebar was way too low and my legs shake and hurt till now after that exercise. Maybe if you practice you'll be okay, but it's not exactly the point. They look like super off-road machines, but that's not exactly it. Then if you want to sit and ride 60 to 70 kilometers per hour on a super uneven road, you actually can, since they've got, for example, adjustable suspension. And I tried one with softer settings, and I loved it, as it was much more comfortable riding over bumps than the first unit that was having suspension set in hard. And then there's the topic of customization. So you may get parts that I used to lift the seat. At my height, it was actually great, 183 centimeters tall. And you may raise the handlebar a bit as well. You may install handguards like here in this one and get lots of other stuff, including that trick that makes your Sur-Ron engine, let's say, not restricted versus what you get when you buy it. You know what I mean? At least I hope that you know. If you don't, then ask the dealership and they'll know what you mean, even if you don't, but they'll know. Now, what about electricity? The first thing that you may realize is that you may plug the bikes wherever you want, just if there is a 220 volt socket. I'm talking Europe. In the beginning, I was offered to take the bikes with me for a few days, and I was like, okay, no, that's not cool. I've got things to do and I don't want to leave my car there. And what I really had in mind was that the super fancy new building that I'm living in, right here, doesn't have any spots for charging EV vehicles, whatever they are. The developer promised them, but to hell with them, as they haven't delivered, they haven't made them. So I just wouldn't be able to charge the bike and would have to look for those annoying charging stations, and it's not many of them around. And I've got actually one nearby, but still, you know, the battery lasts for around 3 hours of riding, so longer than your iPhone when watching whatever you're watching, yet it also needs 3 hours to get fully charged. I can confirm that. So it's a fair deal on one hand, but what I didn't know at that time was that I could actually take that battery with me to my apartment right here and charge it here. If you ride to work, school, or wherever else, you may open the compartment and plug it next to you wherever you are and wherever you're sitting, stealing electricity. So now you guys know. So it's a smart system. What else is there? There are LED lights in those SURRON Light Bees, and to prove that they're light, maybe not bees, here you've got me making friends with both versions. I really had a lot of fun. Being able to ride wherever you want is truly fantastic. And about that, by the way, ground clearance is 27 centimeters, so more than any big adventure bike, over 2 centimeters more than BMW F850 GS. That actually feels closest to what you feel on the Light Bee if you compare them with big petrol-powered motorcycles, but not all petrol-powered motorcycles, because there is a motocross motorcycle that Sur-Ron makes, which I also tried, which is the size of a like regular motocross motorcycle, just it's silent and fully powered with electricity. The Bee seats can be from 84 to 88 centimeters high, and they are pretty narrow, so 88 centimeters here don't mean the same as on a touring enduro with a wide seat. These Sur-Rons aren't touring machines, so the seats are hard, perhaps more comfy than on a bicycle, and with bigger tires and proper suspension. Of course, there is no comparison in terms of comfort. They are more comfortable than bicycles. Yet with that additional comfort, you still will conquer every curb, as you see me doing here. If you want, you may stop before and just lift the front wheel. These bikes are really light. Lifting requires some strength, but it's possible. 56 kilograms, come on. Sur-Ron claims for these bikes up to 100 kilometers of range, and here it very much depends on how you ride. 3 hours of fun is what makes a lot of sense to assume. There are also two modes, sun mode and a sport mode. I don't see many reasons of using anything but sport, but when precision maybe matters, not off the road, but in some tight spots, you might perhaps then use this whatever mode, but not the sport one. The change is actually instant, that's pretty fun. Just for you to get a full picture, there is no ABS or traction control here, but there is an instrument panel that always shows you how much battery there is left and what your speed is. And I always complain about chain drive, but here I won't, because the purpose is absolutely different. It's close to being a bicycle. So this is how I saw this adventure, and if I did not have to choose what I spend my money on today, I would get this thing just for fun. You know, I live in the city and I would likely just ride it for fun, maybe sometimes to work if I wanted to show off how modern I am and so on. There is a normal key to operate ignition, by the way. The thing is so small that you can keep it in your living room. I mean, not the key, but the bee, or as I've seen some people do with their bicycles at the balcony. Do you have a kid? If so, then go ahead and please her or him. These Sur-Rons cost right now 5,000 euros in 2022, probably will go up. Now, when I was taking these pictures in a place where I would expect no one, as it was next to a highway and it was a bicycle path, first I got approached by an elderly gentleman who got interested.
Też można punkty dostać pewnie, wiesz?
No właśnie się zastanawiam, ale nie ma tablicy rejestracyjnej, więc jak rower.
Then there were people taking a peek when passing by, including some kids on an electric scooter shouting "cool" to me. And I agree, these machines are fun and they look fun, they look cool, they're like Apple. Designed in California, made in China, and actually I don't know where they were designed, but the rest remains. I imagine that the level of uniqueness may allow them to appeal not only to crazy guys who like freedom, speed and doing fun stuff, but also to people who actually would like to go slight off-road or ride around the house but aren't allowed to make noise at the same time. With this you can go enjoy yourself. It's not enough power to ride in sand, but anywhere else I think that they should be okay. No hills will stop them, that I am convinced about. Also, if you are a wildlife photographer or like to explore the unexplored, but don't want to necessarily be heard 5 kilometers further away, or maybe even wear full motocross gear, you may dress the same as for a bicycle here, yet, well, remember that crashing at 70 kilometers per hour will hurt just like on a regular motorcycle, not exactly maybe like on the bicycle unless you're going downhill, which whatever. Come and test those things, and if you are in Warsaw, I'll link the address below in the description. It is free, and unlike during regular test drives, it doesn't even cost you fuel. Give it a try, maybe you'll like the feeling, and your KTM, Ducati, BMW or wherever you're riding will get a new colleague in the garage, new friend, new baby. Hopefully won't get jealous. I'm not a fan of bicycles, but this is something different, with most advantages of bicycles and without some things that may be considered disadvantages of motorcycles, like heavyweight, being loud, and costs of riding. I've also tried Sur-Ron's that big dirt bike called Storm Bee, and it's going over 100 kilometers per hour. I tried that, it's got 520 Newton meters, or real 22.5 Newton meters, the way we understand them at the wheel, and it is very quick, similar to 450 cubic centimeter bikes, just silent and with no gears. Same size, same weight, around 136 kilograms with the battery, also around 3 hours of riding and 3 hours of charging, with up to 100 kilometers of range. That one you can check out on my Instagram at Devitold. It's been new kinds of fun for me. Subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next one, most likely with a large petrol engine. Cheers! Ow.